We are on the fantastic new Dwarka Expressway that was just inaugurated a couple of days ago by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Behind me is supposed to be India's widest toll plaza at 34 lanes wide, and I'm here with the Mercedes-Benz EQE. At 1.4 crores, it is one of India's most expensive electric cars, but also one of India's best electric cars, coming all the way from the United States of America. Yes, the Germans make their cars in the US now. But we're not talking about the car so much, but about electric vehicles. You see, a few months ago, I had driven the Mercedes-Benz EQE in Gulmarg in Kashmir. And at that time, I had interviewed Santosh Iyer, Managing Director of Mercedes-Benz India. And one of the things he told me in that interview, which you can watch in the description below, was that Mercedes was going to become an all-electric car maker by 2030. Now, however, Mercedes has put that plan on hold. They are saying they're continuing to make petrol and diesel cars well past the 2030 deadline. And it's not just Mercedes. Other car makers, Ford, General Motors, and even the Volkswagen Group, and of course Toyota themselves, who have never been huge fans of the move to electric vehicles, have all sort of slowed down their moves towards EVs, citing consumer preferences. Car makers such as Rivian, much ballyhooed electric car maker, just laid off 10% of their workforce. And even the Elon Musk-led Tesla Motors has said that growth will slow down in 2024. All of them cite consumer preferences. So why are consumers across the world falling out of love with electric vehicles? I'll tell you a bit more as this video continues. So as we drive down the Dwarka Expressway, this fantastic new piece of infrastructure on the outskirts of Delhi, which will function a lot also as a Gurgaon bypass. You won't have to go through the heart of Gurgaon. And you can see a lot of real estate being built here. We are taking this wonderful electric car, the EQE. So why has the public fallen out of love with electric vehicles in developed markets? Well, there has to be a clarification here. The public has not fallen out of love with electric vehicles in countries like China. China is the problem. Chinese car makers have caught up and exceeded Western car makers when it comes to electric cars. Companies like BYD, for example, who are able to challenge established car makers in terms of price and in terms of features both. So there has been that. That is why many established car makers are going back towards petrol and diesel, and the talk for EVs is shifting. But consumers in the West have also voted with their wallets. In the United States, Ford has seen demand for their Mach-E Mustang, the sporty version of the Mustang sports car, not really be as much as they thought it would, because consumers prefer having a big 5-liter V8 engine on their car. It's also been because petrol prices post-COVID haven't really risen all that much across the world. In fact, they've fallen a bit. So the cost advantage of an EV has come down. That said, I recently returned the Hyundai Ioniq 5 I had as my long-term car for 8 months. And I got fantastic cost benefits out of an EV. I also recently drove the Tata Nexon.EV. But let's look at the Hyundai Ioniq 5, because I drove it over 8 months, 8,300 kilometers, and it came to about ₹1.70 per kilometer to run. A similarly equipped Hyundai Tucson would cost almost 12 rupees per kilometer just on fuel costs. But the Ioniq 5, which like the Tucson comes as a kit from South Korea, costs 10 lakh rupees more than a Tucson. Would you make back the 10 lakh rupees in 5, 6, 7 years? Maybe not. And many people are worried about the replacement cost of a battery. Now, I have to clarify, batteries do not need to be replaced after the 8-year warranty. Keep in mind, as Santosh said in his interview, an ICE engine only is given a warranty for 1 year or 3 years, and it's not going to go bad after 3 years. A battery is supposed to last anywhere from 1500 to 2000 cycles, much on your like on your laptop. Once those 2000 cycles are up, you might need to replace it. But 2000 cycles for a private car owner could mean 20 years of usage, because you won't be charging your car, as I discovered with the Ioniq 5 when I used it in the city, more than once a week. I think electric cars are fantastic in the city, but consumers in places like America, where distances are longer, want more range. In countries like in Europe, people want the lower cost, and governments in the UK and across Europe are now cutting back on subsidies for electric cars. So the subsidies you got, even in India, FAME 2 may not last after 31st of March. What will that mean for electric two-wheelers? These are the questions that need to be answered. However, I still think that inside a city, an electric car makes a lot of sense. There is more than enough infrastructure, as we will just see. So we are plugging in the charger to the car. Let's go in. Yes, proceed. We got the app. We're going to put 500 rupees of charging. Because it's a 90 kilowatt charger, we'll get 20 kilowatts in just 13 minutes. Proceed. This charger here on Gurgaon's Golf Course Road at the Mercedes-Benz showroom can be used by anybody. You don't need to own a Mercedes-Benz like this EQE to come and use this charger. If you have an Audi, a BMW, or even a Tata or Mahindra electric car, you can come and use this 90 kilowatt charger. On a car like the EQE, using a charger like this will mean you'll get from 0 to 80% in just over an hour. Enough juice for you to get from here to maybe even Jodhpur. So it's not a problem of infrastructure. People still do not want to pay the extra for an electric car. There is still some doubt, and car makers haven't been good enough in explaining and clearing the doubts that buyers of electric cars have, no matter how good. And this EQE is a very, very good car, mind you. So maybe a little more work needs to be done in India and across the world, convincing people to buy EVs.